again. I think we discovered some technical difficulties. It happens. Seems to happen regularly, but it's all right. I think we're on it. It's working now. So welcome to another edition of Wellness Wheel Wednesday. My name is Dr. Vera, and I'm a chiropractor, and I have with me Jenni Sustrate from Sustrate Insurance. Hey, so let's make this one really interactive. If you have some questions or comments or exactly that for either Jenni or myself regarding critical illness, disability, or life insurance, or some questions about chiropractic or your aches and pains, we'd be happy to address them sometime during this interview. So yeah, keep the comments coming, and we're on it. We're going to ask those questions away, and hopefully Jenni can answer some of those. So Wellness Wheel exists because to address some emotional stresses that people have in their daily lives. As a chiropractor, when people come to me with their aches and pains, there's a thorough history that's done, and we try and examine as to what is the root cause of that ache and pain. Is it something physical that we're doing? Is it some chemical stuff that we're doing? Maybe too much smoking, drinking, bad drugs, or some bad diet, which really can contribute to a presentation, but also the emotional stresses. And this is where the Wellness Wheel really expands, is because those emotional stresses can be coming from various aspects of our life. It can be coming from our family life, where from our purpose or relationship with God, or whatever you want to call it, or it can actually be coming from our financial well-being. And insurance falls into a financial category simply because we do have to plan for if there's going to be a problem in life. And sometimes if we're not planned for that, if some people know, and it causes this nagging stress that we're not prepared. We don't have what we need in case something happens to us for our family and friends in need. So that's why Jenni is here to address that. Is that typically what happens when you meet somebody, is that they just don't have at all what they need in case of emergencies?
Yeah, so in the 9 years that I've been in the industry, I've never met not one person that was adequately covered in all areas. And that's not a bad thing. That's just, your life changes so often that insurance and financial planning is not really a set it and forget it mentality anymore.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's more about your insurance and your financial planning needs to evolve and change with your life. We are so fast these days. We will probably have 5 homes in our lifetime. We'll have kids, we'll change jobs, we'll have wage increases. So as all these things change, you need to change your insurance and financial planning. So I've never not met one person that had adequate everything. And usually when people are booking with me, the first thing that they're saying is, I really want to see you because I want to make sure that I have everything so that if anything happens to me, that we're okay, my kids are okay, my kids are set, doesn't matter what happens, we're okay.
That's right. When I do dive into history with people, financial chaos is usually a big deal for people. So when there's money involved, there's high emotions. It's just because money, I think, is a universal symbol of exchange. So if we don't have enough of it, or it's missing, then it really can evoke some horrible feelings. Well, they're not horrible feelings, but just horrible way of expressing those feelings if we're not good at that. And it can really add even a level of stress. So you said, I love the statement that, what was it? Something, set it and forget it?
Yeah.
That's a little bit how I feel about insurance. And once I get it, I kind of don't remember about it, don't go and examine it. So is that how, I'm thinking that maybe I'm a typical layperson when it comes to insurance, and if that's me, then maybe there's other people like that. So how do you make sure that it's not forgotten? So if somebody is, they're well taken care of, so what do you do for them to make sure that it's not forgotten?
Well, when I'm sitting down with my clients, education is the biggest thing of what we're doing. So I want you to really have a connection of why you're getting this insurance, so it means something to you. A lot of people will say, well, I heard that permanent insurance is the best thing for me, and I should be putting a lot of cash in these permanent policies for my retirement, and I just want that. So when I'm meeting with people that have a very set idea of what they think they want, I make sure that education is the biggest thing of why we're getting it. And so because of that education, I say to my clients that you should be seeing me every year. I'm going to send out a review letter. If I don't hear from you, I usually follow up with a phone call or an email. However, I make it a policy in my life that my door is very open.
Yeah.
So if my clients have changes in their lifetime before review, they actually just phone me and they say, hey, this has changed in my life. I think we need to update things. So maybe we had a kid, we need to change beneficiaries. We need to open up an RESP for the child.
Yeah.
Maybe we've changed addresses. So my clients are very good at calling me
That's
when
great.
something has changed in their life, but I make it a point to let them know that we should have a yearly review and to make that sure that your insurance is still working for you.
I think that's great. It always does start with education, even in the chiropractic world, as to what's going on, the philosophy of chiropractic and how it's actually helping, so that you understand a treatment plan. So education is super important in order for people to be on board as to what we're doing and not think that it's simply just a way to make some money. There's really a rhyme and a reason to why we educate our people the way we do. So speaking of education, can you educate our viewer and me about the difference between critical insurance, critical illness, and disability? To me, they almost sound one and the same. So does one need one and not the other, or is it still important to have both?
That's a really good question, Dr. Vera. When I'm meeting with people, they usually ask me that exact same thing. They say, well, if I were to choose one, which one's more important? And that's like asking me which lottery ticket is the winning lottery.
Right.
I really don't know what's going to happen to you. You don't know what's going to happen to you. So whether we have an illness or an injury of any sort, disability and critical illness are different, but they also work together. So I would never say have one over the other. For us, we are very likely to have an injury or an illness at this time in our life versus a death.
Yeah.
So having disability and critical illness are important. Now where they differ is disability, you can have injury only, or you can have injury and illness. I recommend to have injury and illness.
Yeah.
And that will start coming into effect and paying you a monthly income when you're not able to work. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And critical illness covers so many illnesses, so cancer, heart attack, stroke, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's. There's usually about 27 different illnesses that it covers.
Okay.
And if you're to be diagnosed with one of those, you have to live 30 days past that diagnosis, qualify for the terms, and then you're given a lump sum of tax-free cash.
Oh, wow.
So where they differ is, for example, let's say you got into a car accident.
Yeah.
And you just broke your leg or broke a few bones, but you couldn't go to work.
Yeah.
Critical illness isn't going to pay you, but your disability will. Okay? Critical illness now, so let's say you got cancer, but you're still working maybe for a few months before your treatments start. So you're 30 days after your diagnosis, your critical illness is going to give you the lump sum tax-free cash, and maybe with that you've decided to take your family on a vacation to just de-stress yourself.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to take marijuana oil. Maybe you have to take an experimental cancer drug. I've heard those can be upwards of $8,000 a month.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
So if you don't have those finances to do that, that's why critical illness is really important.
Yeah.
So you're spending that money, and then your disability is going to kick in once you can't work and finish everything off for you. So if your critical illness is gone, you still have disability coming in. Hopefully you have enough critical illness coverage that it lasts you at least a year. Yeah. But they work together that way.
Okay, that's a great understanding and good examples, especially with the car accident. You're right. That's a broken leg could be quite disabling. Even just some motor vehicle accident, the soft tissue injuries can really be disabling. Yeah, they can really cause some long-term aches and pains.
Yeah, or even just falling on the ice. You know, that's an easy one that all of us could do. You're falling on the ice and you go to brace yourself. Yeah. You could break both your wrists. Yeah. Right?
Oh, can't do the computer.
Can't do the computer. Can't do your work. You can't bake cakes. You can't. There's lots of things, right?
Oh, no cake.
Sad day.
So this brings me to another question. So let's say I have a corporate job someplace do I still, and I don't have a corporate job, so I'm not sure, but I think they do cover with disability and all these kinds of things. But is it wise for me to go above and beyond what my corporate employer is providing me? And do you have a lot of those clients?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh.
So each employer can decide whether to offer a group benefit plan. And each employer can design the group benefit plan to be different.
Yeah.
So just because you have group benefits doesn't always mean that you have short-term, long-term disability and critical illness. The only insurance that is supposed to be in there, 100% mandatory, is life insurance.
Oh.
And even at that, you may only have $10,000 of it. So, or you might even just have a health and dental plan.
Right.
So just because you have a group benefit plan doesn't mean you have all the insurance coverage. So definitely have an advisor look through that with you to make sure you understand what you actually have. Because a lot of time you're getting this big book.
Yeah.
You don't even look at it because you don't want to.
Yeah.
And you think you're covered. So when I'm reading through these benefits, I can tell you if you have short-term, long-term disability, if you have critical illness. Sometimes I've even seen in there where they say, yeah, we're going to cover you for your 66 2/3% of your income, which is normal.
Yeah.
But then the fine print says up to a maximum of $2,000 or $3,000 a month, which may not be even close to your 66 2/3%. Not only that, but there's different definitions of disability.
Yeah.
And so there may be some fine print in there as well saying that, okay, we're going to cover you for 2 years, but after that, the definition of your disability is going to go to any occupation. What any occupation means is that after 2 years, if you can do any job, any job, they'll kick you off the disability and you have to resort to doing anything.
Wow, within the company, or
nope, anything.
Just anything, like answering phones. So
working at McDonald's,
wow,
Walmart greeter. So it's really good to know what the definition of your disability is, because that you may think you're covered to your 65, but that may not be the case. So yes, I go through your benefit plans. I educate you as to what you have, and then you decide whether you want a top-up of that or not.
Well, that sounds really wonderful that you actually take those books and actually read it, so you know how to read it. How long does it take you to read one of those books?
I'm only looking at like 5 pages, so not very long. There's usually just 5 pages in the whole book that are interesting.
I'm like, wow, she reads that whole manual for you guys and gives you the Coles Notes version of it. That'd be so great. I could give you a bunch of manuscripts to read it. Just tell me about it, Jenni. So, do you have a success story of somebody who you helped? They're bumping along in life, they've well covered, and something happened, and you knew that, bang, because you were taking care of them, they're okay. They were financially okay, and they're over the hump, and everything is all the better for it.
Where my success stories have come in is basically saving people a lot of money by educating them on which insurance to have. I've had people come to me where they've spent a lot of money on creditor insurance. So creditor insurance is insurance at the bank, which may or not be actually the best thing. It may or not actually pay out. So I've had one client, they were paying $670 a month in mortgage insurance.
Wow.
And I was able to get them the same amount of coverage for about $385.
Oh, that's intense.
So we're freeing up some cash, which then we can put towards other things, right? We can pay off debt, we can put towards tax-free savings accounts. I've had a lot of situations like that.
Yeah.
My other success stories are, because I'm a broker, I can access most companies out there, and I know the niches of each company. Mm-hmm. So if you have a certain health condition, or if you are a little overweight, or you have high blood pressure, fatty liver, I know which companies are best for you, that are going to treat you the best there. Yeah. So I've had people say to me, well, I was told that I could never have insurance coverage, and I was still able to get them something.
That's really great.
Which really relieved a lot of pressure and stress on them.
Yeah, exactly what we're talking about is that nagging stress so that's really wonderful that you can actually help reduce some of those emotional stresses with insurance. having the right insurance and actually being able to qualify. So that actually brings me to just a question. Is there an age that is simply not insurable? Or have you ever come across somebody who's not really uninsurable?
It's rare that I come across someone that is absolutely not insurable. 5% of the time, I would say I've come across people that I can't get anything for, and it really has to do with maybe you've had a recent, like within the last couple months, heart attack or stroke.
Yeah.
There are still guaranteed issue companies that will take on certain things based on how long it's been since you've had that illness.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, it just depends on your health.
More so than your age.
More so than your age.
Okay.
You can't really have term insurance past 71, 72, depending on the carrier. You can still get some permanent insurance, which would be whole life or universal life, depending on the age at that point. There's still some options.
Right.
Of course, you have to have the budget for it, because as you age, insurance becomes more expensive. So it's not usually a question of uninsurable. It sometimes is, but it's more a question of, are you willing to take the risk of waiting to get insurance coverage, because you're risking what's my health going to be like at that time, and what is it going to cost me?
Yeah. So you did mention that you have to budget for this. So let's say somebody is like, man, you know what I do? I need to get some insurance because I'm not covered properly. I don't have the critical illness, or I don't have the disability, or I have neither, and I thought, oh, that's covered with my employer. So what would be kind of the average budget, or what should one be budgeting for with critical illness? And is it, well, you said it's not dependent on age. So let's say a family in their 30s, or a family in their 40s, a family in their 50s. Does that come into play, or not really, or just family in general?
Well, age does come into play. So a lot of things come into play when they're calculating how much insurance costs. It's age, gender, smoking status. For disability, it's your occupation, so how risky is your occupation.
Yeah.
Gender, I said, that'll affect critical illness and life insurance costs too.
Which gender?
Male, female.
Right, yeah, but like which gender is more
so
harder?
Typically for life insurance, females are cheaper if they're a non-smoker and they're healthy, because we live longer.
Okay.
And for critical illness, we're typically more expensive by a little bit because we make more claims on it.
Oh.
Yeah, on the
and
illness
disability?
side.
Which?
Disability, again, for the illness side, women are just a little bit higher because we claim more on the illness.
Okay.
And men don't claim too much, so but obviously if they're older than the woman applying, then that could be, they're more expensive at that point.
I see. Good.
Yeah. So the average family, to get back to that question, it depends on how much insurance you're wanting.
Right.
I really focus on your budget, because I would rather have you have a little bit of everything, or at least sufficiently covered for everything that works within your budget, than over-insuring you on one thing. So we can typically work within a $200 or a $400 budget a month, depending on everything you're trying to achieve with your insurance planning.
So that's all of it. That would be the life, the disability, and the critical illness for both.
For all three. Yeah.
For both male and female, both mom and dad, or husband and wife.
Yeah, that's the...
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really great.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty affordable. So, were there any questions? Did anybody have any questions for Jenni before we close this video? If there's not, you can certainly just private message either one of us, and we'd be happy to direct you to the right person if you wanted to inquire about critical illness, life, or disability with Jenni. And if you had some general chiropractic questions, feel free to just private message us. And just remember to save this video if you didn't have a chance to. Should have said it at the beginning, but you can always save this video, watch it again later, as well as comment. Feel free to comment, share this video, so that people know the importance of having the right coverage for your insurance, so that you can really manage some of those emotional stresses and make sure that you're contributing less to your aches and pains. So next week is another session of Wellness Wheel Wednesday, and it is with Tony Reed. And he's going to be with the mental, which is Great. That's the first one that we have with mental. So how to use your mind, or making sure that you're using your mind to its fullest potential so that you aren't becoming stagnant in life. So stay tuned next week with 28. Okay?
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.